welcome back to the studio. I have daffodils blooming in my yard, so I happen to know that it's spring both outside the studio and inside the studio. What I'm doing today, I'm going to make a table runner, and this one is appropriate for the release date, and depending on when you watch it, it could be appropriate for you as well. I am utilizing the pattern that came with the Blossom Braid table runner, which is based on a French braid quilt. And I started with Tonga batiks. I had a package of all of the different cream and beige strips, 2.5 inch strips, and I used 1/2 of the pack, so just one fold of the 2.5 inch strips. They usually come side by side with two. And with that one package, I had leftover pieces, but also I was able to do 2 of these braids. I have a square in the center, and then it's braided on the outside edges. And this one hasn't been trimmed yet, as you can see. It has all of its dog ears still left on there. And I made 2 of these at the same time because it was almost as quick as making one. And sometimes I get behind, and it's nice to have a project that I could grab and get onto the machine. So this particular one will be put aside for later, and whatever fabric I use on the inner and outer border for this will determine its use. The one that I'm doing today is an Easter table runner, and so I have a little bit of a plaid as my inner border, as you will see, and then I have some bunnies on the outside for the outside border. And we have a new pattern that I'm going to be using. Eat, Drink, and Be Hoppy, I believe is the name of it. It's by Melonie Caldwell, and as of this release date, it's a new pattern, and so I wanted to feature it also because we're a couple weeks out from Easter. So I'm going to move you over to the side so you can see that we have the table runner set up. I already have my backing, batting, and top in place, and we'll go ahead and measure this out on the machine and check the pattern off so we can get it started stitching. So let's move. We are at the main menu, and because I'm going to mark on quilt, I don't have to have this starting in the back corner because I'm going to tell it where I want the design to load. And you'll see in a minute the fabric, but I'm going to start with the main menu, Design Sew Quilt, starting new, and we're going to erase our work in progress, permanently erase it, and we're going to reset the clock. So this is the first step. Whenever we do a table runner, we are going to load that as a block pattern because the whole piece loads as a block. But I'm going to show you real quick what would happen if you hit pantograph. So I'm going to hit pantograph and mark on quilt, and I'm going to move the machine around and click in the 4 corners. So I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see. And I'm only going to do the inside of the quilt, where the actual piecing is, not the inner border or the outer border. And because this is just to show you what would happen, I'm not going to be that accurate on my placement of this square. Now remember, I chose pantograph, so I'm going to go to my downloads, and I'm going to go until I find my pattern. I've abbreviated the name to Be Hoppy, and I also included the size parameters that this quilt was stated for on the website, which is 12.5 high by 40.5 long, wide and high. So I'm going to select that. You know, whenever you do a pantograph, you have to select the even and odd rows. So I'll select it again, and you'll see what happens here on the screen. It has done the whole table runner, but it's done them sort of at an offset angle, and we have 2 rows there. Now, you know, you could do whatever you wanted. I could make this just nest together, but it's still not going to be correct. It's not intended to be that way, so what we're getting is an inappropriate load. But at least that would tell you, if you saw that, what the problem was. We loaded it as a panto instead of as a block. So we're going to exit and go back to the beginning. Now I have my whole pattern again. This time I'm going to add edit pattern, and I'm going to load it as a block pattern. And I'm going to use the current block, and I will go over until we get the Hoppy again. And you'll see I only had to do it once this time because it's a block that will fill the whole piece. Now we're going to scale up until the height matches the height, and there we have it. Now I'm going to have to stretch the 2 sides a little bit, so I'm going to click on width and just keep clicking the plus sign, or I could just drag it until we get it the size we need. And that is all there is to loading this. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process because I didn't do a real great measurement on that first clicking. So I'll repeat that, doing more accurate clicks for the marking on quilt, and we'll get started. The total running time on this table runner is going to be 12.9 minutes. So you know that this is going to stitch out pretty quickly. I'm going to start you here at this angle so you could see my starting point. As you can see, I have the block is inside the inner and outer border. Because my full table runner is wider than my stitch capability on my machine, I decided just to go on the inside of the pattern for simplicity. And I stitched 1/4 of an inch just outside the seam for the inner and outer border, and with the binding on the edge, that will be enough stitching for a table runner that isn't going to get that heavy of use anyway. No one's going to be pulling it up by the edges the way you would a quilt. So I already have my first stitch here. I'm going to hold my threads and hit start. And we're off to the races. Right now we're into the first Easter egg. You can see I kind of used kind of an aqua color that I was hoping would pull in both the blue and the green together. And I have distorted this a little bit in stretching it to fit my paws here, but I don't think you're going to find that that's going to affect the illusion of the bunny or the eggs. But I'm going to go ahead and pause just so I can bring the camera in a little bit closer and you can see this beautiful design stitch out. economical gift. I know a lot of times people love to decorate their house for the different seasons. Sometimes we don't always have time to make a full quilt for a holiday that comes up on us pretty quick. But a table runner, as you can see, is a very easy project. Sewing all of these strips together was maybe an hour and a half, and I actually made 2 sets of those. But I could have as easily have just done a plain fabric in the center and added my theme fabric for the inner and outer border. And that would have been just really a few minutes. It would have taken longer to select the fabric than anything. With a design that stitches out in less than 13 minutes, you could easily make several of these. And if you had the backing fabric all as one unit, you could just keep rolling up the quilt, adding a new top and stitching that one, and so on. You could probably make 4 of these in less than an hour using that process. So they would make great gifts for the kids or grandkids without a huge investment in time and money. And Easter eggs and bunnies are always a favorite at Easter. Well, that's pretty much it for this quick video. With the table runners, you always introduce the pattern as a block, not as a panto. This was very simple to do. The pattern was called Eat, Drink, and Be Hoppy. It was created by Melonie Caldwell. It's got a bunny on each of the 2 sides here, and then a couple of different variations on Easter eggs. This would have been really cute with variegated thread. I chose to go with a solid today. I actually was going to play with a new thread, but I couldn't get it to work in time for this video, so that will be something that I will try in the next video. But these make really quick gifts, really quick to get something decorated for the holidays that we're not investing months and months on, that it's only going to be viewed for a few weeks. So I would just want to thank you for stopping by the studio today and spending a little bit of time with us, and we'll see you again next time.